From the heat of Arizona, we head to the humidity of the South to the last race of the regular season in order to see who can make it into the playoffs. Tonight we're in the Gulf Coast, specifically Pensacola, Florida. Home to White Beaches and the Snowball Derby at Five Flags Speedway. Here for the Look Twice 150, presented by me, Evan Wall Media. So as we get ready to go here, it's going to be a hot and slick night down in Florida, and track position is going to be key. Nick Nickerson is your only driver on the season to win more than one race. Will he make it for tonight? Will somebody get their second win, or will we have our eighth first-time winner? What do you think, Marshall?
Well, honestly, I think compared to anything else we've run all season, I think Five Flags is just going to be an entirely different beast. I mean, you talk about Nick Nickerson, who's had a great season at this point. He had a great last week, winning at Phoenix, his hometown track. So he's been on a roll as of late. But the thing about Five Flags is it feels really like one of those hometown tracks, ones that you'd go out to for community dirt races or just community, smaller stock cars or things like sprint cars. It's just one of those tracks. It doesn't have the atmosphere of, a nice polished track where multiple lines, just pure pace is important. And that's kind of what Nick Nickerson, I think, on this season is used to. I mean, you talk about the first two races he won this season, Evan, both being at road courses. That's all about, pure pace, pure lap times, pure practice. But we're coming out here at Five Flags, and Evan, I mean, we both watched practice to this point. We both know this is not going to be an event of pure pace and pure speed and pure consistency. It's just going to be, how can you deal with the bumps? How can you deal with the other cars around you? You got to have awareness. You got to be checking your mirrors constantly. And it's going to be an entirely different skill set than anything I think we've had in quite a while. So I'm excited to see just who can survive to the end and how people can deal with lap traffic. So I think Nick's got a great chance. I mean, as always, he's going to put up top times in practice. And it's what we've come to expect him to do. But I think, Evan, tonight's going to require a much different skill set than what you can see in qualifying or what you can see up there on the leaderboard here in practice.
Yeah, it definitely is. And right now, 2.5 minutes left in practice. And, of course, Nick Nickerson at the moment topping your board. Benny Hogan in the 88. Good job to be up there in second. But really, I think this is just going to be a night of perseverance. It's who can stand and have the cleanest race car at the end. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's not one clean race car left after the night's over, even with one fast repair. We were talking to Brandon Jackson a little bit before the race, and he said that he's already in the playoffs. He's just going to be here for fun. He's planning on starting at the back, and he said, quote, "I just want to have fun at this race." He wants to watch everything that goes down. It's definitely going to be an eventful time. That's to say the least. And kind of as you said, Five Flags here in Pensacola, it seems like one of those small hometown tracks. Well, that's mainly because it is a small hometown track, but don't let that fool you. This place has a lot of history behind it. So it's home to the Snowball Derby, if you don't know. For those of you who follow NASCAR, you may not necessarily know Five Flags Speedway and the Snowball Derby and stuff like that, but there's actually a lot of history behind this track. So this place is home to some really famous winners, people like Donnie Allison, Darrell Waltrip, Eric Jones, Noah Gragson, plenty of others. And so the Snowball Derby last year, back in December, two-time Cup Series champion and two-time Snowball Derby winner Chase Elliott, he finished third in the Derby last December. Kyle Busch, and three-time Derby winner, he finished 7th. 2018 Snowball Derby winner Noah Gragson, he didn't even make the field through a qualifying time. He went into the last chance race, and he still couldn't make the field. So, I mean, that really just shows you how competitive this track is. It really puts up some of the best NASCAR drivers, current and former, against some of the best local drivers. Now, this is going to be a lot different tonight, as we're not running late models or outlaws or anything like that. We're running Xfinity cars, so they're bigger. They got the high horsepower. They're a lot different than those late models, but it still ought to be a lot of fun, because right now, the only thing that Five Flags runs that is similar to this, the closest thing they've got is the ARCA cars. That's the only national touring series that they run, so that's going to be the closest thing. But if you look at the track, it's a half-mile high-banked oval, and so it's really quick. Even though it's short, you can see how quick these lap times are in 17 seconds. They're really quick because it's so high-banked and it's such a short track. And on top of that, the surface is really abrasive. So it's really going to focus on who can have their tires, as all these Bandit races do. it's really going to be important to save your tires and be there at the end tonight. And whoever can save their tires the quickest or save their tires while going the quickest is really who is going to benefit the most, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's really what so much of this is going to come down to. I talked about how it's not going to be about, that pure pace mentality of run quick lap times, because to a certain extent, it's really not going to matter in a lot of cases, especially something running in bigger packs, running with more lap traffic. So really, tires are the only thing at that point you can control, and that's what's going to separate some of the guys who may just be laying back there waiting for the end and maybe have their ticket punched to the finale versus the guys who are really going for those spots, really trying to get in those point spots that move on to the playoffs. So I think that'll be an interesting dynamic. I almost think the guys that don't need this race to get to the playoffs will be in a worse position or a worse mindset for how to conserve than those who really don't need this for anything major. But here is Curtis Yancey, our first driver to run a time on the board.
Yeah, so Curtis Yancey, first one to put down a 17.67. But while a lot of these guys are getting their first laps out, we're going to go ahead real quick and look at our point standings. So, of course, Nick Nickerson with 3 wins up in the lead. Ricky Hart Jr. locked in. Curtis Yancey locked in. Benjamin Lacey locked in. Brandon Jackson, Cody Welch, and Dustin Franklin all locked in to the playoffs. But then on top of that, we're going to take the top 12 drivers that do not have a win. So as of right now, Bill Harkins and Benny Hogan are the last 2 drivers that are in. Jason Greenwell, Jarrett Grodzicki, Alan Castle, Marshall Moran. Those guys are the first drivers that are going to be out. So as you can see that time right here, we'll look at Nick Nickerson getting ready to, or putting his qualifying lap down, jumping to the top of the board. But you can see those guys, there are 12 that haven't won that are going to be getting in. If you win, you're automatically in the next round. So anybody below that list of guys in the top 12. So say right now, Cale Zook down there in 27th, just for example, he probably isn't going to be able to get his way in on points. He might be able to, but that would be tough for him to get his way in on points, sitting in 27th right now. But if he comes out and gets a win, then he's automatically in. So we can either have 19 or 20 drivers in our first round. It just depends on whether or not it's going to be a new winner here tonight. And so after the race, stick around because we're going to have our normal top 3 interviews like we always do. And then after that, we're going to be seeing who made it into the playoffs. We're going to be looking at our point standings after this race. And then we're going to interview the last driver that is going to make it. So go ahead and stick around. Make sure, don't leave too quickly. As right now, great run from the 13 car as he jumps up to 2nd place.
Yeah, it was a great run. Christopher Ferrara, a guy that I think had his best performance of the season at a super speedway. I think it was Talladega here to start the year. So he made quite the performance or the name for himself back then. So the fact that he can do it on both the long tracks and a track that is, 20% of the length of that Talladega circuit is certainly good news for the driver of the 13 car. But yeah, that'll be an exciting name to see up there at the top of the board. Benny Hogan also there as well, a very frequent face to this series. And same with Cody Welch and Curtis Yancey. We got some top talent there at the top of the board. But Peter Murphy coming home 6th. Matt Crockett there in 7th, Terry Condis in 8th, a couple new names up there at the top. And the guy that I'm really looking at is Mr. Jason Greenwell. We see Mr. Brandon Jackson here parked on the start-finish line. Again, he is going to, I think, maybe just wait there in the back, maybe just decide to forego qualifying in favor of a later start. Here is Kevin Foster in the 8 car, and he is running a very familiar entry. Those of you that have seen Nick Nickerson take home 3 wins in our season, you will recognize this livery, but he's running it in a slightly different style of the number 8 car as well. So that'll make it tough for those who are looking out for Nick Nickerson, a guy that's more than likely going to be really quick here tonight. Well, now you can't quite pin down which car he is in bigger battles on the track, thanks to, of course, Kevin Foster running a very similar scheme.
Yeah, so we're riding on board with Kevin Foster right now, and you see, coming into turn 1 and 2, you're really going to dive down. You're going to be right on that inside wall and then right on that line, and you got to watch out for getting loose off of turn 2, but then you come and you're going to dive down into 3 and 4, and you're really not going to run as low here in 3 and 4. You're up a little bit higher, but that inside wall comes up quick on you there in 3 and 4. Again, as well as there you see Kevin Foster completes his lap. Quickly as that, 2 laps already done.
Yeah, and the biggest thing you got to watch out for, the reason you can't run quite as far to the bottom there in 3 and 4, we'll watch what Bill Harkins does here on one of his laps. He is one of the final drivers there left in the point standings advancing, so tonight's a big night for the number 11 car. But yeah, the exit of 3 and 4 has some really weird kind of grooves and divots there on the inside of the track. So drivers got to run a little ways up just to avoid getting loose. And Bill kind of ran the exact boundary of what would be considered those bumps. So that they're going to be something to watch out for tonight. Whereas in corners 1 and 2, you got the pit wall and you got the white line, and it's not an exactly parallel track on both sides. Definitely different from one section to the next.
Yeah, and real quick, while we're here, getting ready to grid here, a big happy birthday to Bill Harkins, the league owner himself, from Ashtabula, Ohio, won top 10 on the season so far, and looking to advance that here today. But a big happy birthday to Mr. Bill in his Mustang. But we're getting ready to grid here, looking at the 2 car of Nick Nickerson. Outside of him, the 13 of Christopher Ferrara. And as I say that, let's go ahead and pull up the grid so we can look at it. So Nick Nickerson, Christopher Ferrara. Starting in 3rd position, though, we have Benny Hogan, driver of the 88 car, followed by Cody Welch, Curtis Yancey, the hometown driver. Then Kevin Foster, Peter Murphy, Matt Crockett, Terry Condis in the 32, Trey Ellis in the 10.
And starting outside of the top 10, we got Thomas Fensler starting in the 11th spot with Jason Greenwell to his outside. Greenwell is the final driver outside of the playoff cutoff, so tonight could be a big night for the driver of the 83 car. And it's Alan Castle, Brett Guzik, Ricky Hart Jr. qualifies all the way down in 15th, one of the last drivers to set a time. So got to wonder if your very successful series number 64 driver is looking to keep it a little bit conservative here, to sit at the back for a while. But Garrett Hall after that, starting in 16th. Gary Wright after that in 17th. Victor Weaver will start 18th. Brandon Jackson, you saw there, did not run a qualifying time. He will start 19th, and Benjamin Lacey rounds off the top 20.
In 21st is going to be Hunter Henry, 22nd, Paul Wilson, followed by Marshall Moran, Connor Sawyer, 23rd and 24th. In 25th, we have the birthday boy, Bill Harkins, followed by Cale Zook, Mark Allen Bivens, Mitchell Sullivan, and James Healy to round out your field. So there we're following these guys around, ready to get going green here. The question in the comments, is it too late to join the league? I do not believe it is, but you can go ahead and contact Bill Harkins. You say Chris Ferrara sent you here, so get him to get in touch with Bill Harkins for you, and I do believe that he will welcome you to the league, if not now, at the end of the season.
And we do got a great series of tracks coming up these next few weeks, so it would be a good time to do so. I think there's going to be some fun ones here in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Going to be a lot of fun tracks, but the lights are off on the pace car. I believe they are. So that means that we are getting ready to go green. The pace car diving down, getting ready to go green here in Pensacola, Florida. Nick Nickerson leading us to green, the 88 of Benny Hogan and Christopher Ferrara directly behind him. Curtis Yancey, the 51, trying to make the move to the inside.
Benny Hogan, a great start there on that first lap from the inside line. He got the jump there on Christopher Ferrara, and now Curtis Yancey's trying to go with him, already up 1 spot by Cody Welch on lap 1. Now he's going for 2. He will be considered the 3rd place car on the first lap, and we have a massive pile up there. We got a parking lot on the front stretch coming out of 3 and 4. The caution is now out.
Already trouble from the very beginning. Couple of guys involved. Thomas Fensler, Bill Harkins. We're going to go ahead, head to a replay, take a look at it. So we're following the 17 car of Thomas Fensler, getting ready to go green down here. 32 of Terry Condis just gets a little bit too low. And 13 in trying to avoid, gets loose, spins it out. Maybe a little bit of help there, it seemed like. But shouldn't be too much damage for everybody.
And I think, Evan, that's something we're going to see all night. I mean, this kind of throws me back to last weekend on Monday. NASCAR ran its big Bristol dirt race, and this is giving me flashbacks to that, because once you see an incident in front of you, even if you know what's happening, you can see the smoke. What do you really do about it? I mean, Five Flag is such a small track. Guys are going to, jam up and domino effect a huge parking lot into existence. So it really doesn't leave you with much room to go by. It's kind of similar to what we had last week at Phoenix. So these guys, man, I hope we don't have anybody who's claustrophobic in the series, because we've had a bad couple weeks for for thin tracks that make it really tough to get by. So in that situation, just like for Bill Harkins and others, there was not a ton of room to work with. And as a result, that incident may have been bigger than it would have been at a couple other ovals this season.
Yeah, really, really tight tracks here. And then we saw coming in on that pit stop, Thomas Finsler that was involved, obviously. Also Cale Zook and James Healy. Or no, just Cale Zook heading in. But talking about tight tracks, up next we got New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Another tight track up to the Magic Mile in Loudon. So a lot of tight tracks, and then as soon as we get out of the tight tracks, we head to the interesting tracks. We got Darlington Raceway, where you race on the outside line right after that, and then we have the Roval. So a lot of interesting tracks in a short little span. But a couple of guys in the pits. Cale Zook in the pits again. Mitchell Liam Sullivan also in the pits right now, along with Gary Wright. So a couple guys heading to pit road here on lap 6 of 150. Hopefully this isn't a theme for tonight's race, but we're doubled up right now, ready to get going again. Let's go ahead and head to our drone cam, our overhead cam, and Nick Nickerson is going to be off again, the 88 car, following behind, but a big jump for Nickerson. Also a good run for Yancey. Not as much for the 13 car of Christopher Ferrara, who's going to lose a little bit on that outside line, though. Watch the 8 of Kevin Foster as he heads to the inside of the 13, looking to make a move there.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about pre-race, the possibility that, qualifying times may not tell the whole story, and Christopher Ferrara, as quick as he wasn't qualifying, it really doesn't prepare you for the situation that he's kind of in right now, just letting cars slip away on the inside, because once a train gets formed up and you can't get down a lane, that top middle lane here at Five Flags is not ideal in the slightest. You want to be down there on the bottom, and you want to just be feathering the throttle. And again, now Trey Ellis to the inside of the 13 car. He cannot catch a break, but as a result, Peter Murphy's back up to 6th, and Trey Ellis is trying to move his way through the field. Now I believe he's cleared the 13 car, so he'll slide down. Finally, Christopher Ferrara will get the ideal line here into 3 and 4, but man, lost a couple costly spots there, already down 6 in the only first 10 laps.
We've got a race right back here. Brett Guzik's there on the outside. He was on the outside of Greenwell. Not anymore, though, but right behind him, we have the side-by-side battle. Brandon Jackson up there on the outside. Action Jackson making things happen early now on the outside of Guzik. He was outside of Garrett Hall.
Yeah, there are some big names here in this battle, at least as far as the championship is concerned. I mean, guys like, again, Jason Greenwell, who's the cutoff driver. He's the guy that we got to watch out for in the championship, but put up into the wall there. It looks like, trying to tell which car that is. That's the 99 of Brandon Jackson. Almost found himself in a very bad spot there. If you get even the tiniest bit wiggly, the same way it's tough to avoid a crash, it's really tough to avoid the drivers on the bottom, so he will make the save there. Victor Weaver a little ways back in the 23 car. Looks like he tapped the wall, and he'll stay up to speed. You can get away with a few taps here at a track like Five Flags. I think he almost did it again, so he is bumping and banging that 23 car. But again, aerodynamics not the most important thing at a 1.5 mile oval.
Yeah, but what is important is that inside line, and Victor Weaver, luckily to get down now, but if that 93 car of Alan Castle had shut the door, Victor Weaver wouldn't have had a chance. That's one thing that you're going to see a lot, is just guys getting freight trained up there on the outside. As now you see the 4 car of Trey Ellis on the back bumper of Peter Murphy. And speaking of Trey Ellis, real quick, if you look at the back of his car, the Happy Birthday Bill, had to go ahead and point that out. Like I said, Bill Harkins' birthday. But meanwhile, while all this is going on, here is Nick Nickerson already putting cars a lap down up at the front. Should put the 90 car of Marshall Moran a lap down.
That's going to be a common theme tonight, and it's something that it isn't just tough for the lap cars. It's going to be considerably tougher to get back and lead the lap and compete. Like, you got to have some short run speed here at the very beginning of these stints, because if you don't, you might get swallowed up. But for Nick Nickerson, I mean, it's not too bad right now. But man, when we if we get a long green flag run and cars all start to bunch up here, it's going to make his job very difficult there at the front. But this is the battle between Ricky Hart and Matt Crockett. Ricky Hart moving his way through the field after qualifying 15th. Matt Crockett down slightly from the start, but again, it's only 18 laps into a race here at Five Flags, and well, we got a lot of cautions and a lot of new sets of tires to go, and I think that's going to be the biggest player in tonight's race, just the same way as it's been the last 2 weeks at Auto Club in Phoenix.
You see Peter Murphy now trying to run that outside line. I don't know exactly how competitive it's going to be. I look at people running in that outside line, and to me, the only thing I can think is it just leaves the door open on the inside for you to dive down below. But it may work. We'll see if it works for some of these guys, as it is definitely a possibility here.
The problem is it's just such a steep angle in the corners. Like a track like the Bristol, the last great Coliseum, like the banking is so heavy. Like we have some pretty high banks here at Five Flags, but the banks at Bristol are something completely different. So the high line is easy because the track is trying to push you back to the inside, whereas that's not always the case here. So Peter Murphy, I mean, good on him. It's going to work to his advantage if he can try to scout out that line for later. But we have a caution, multiple cars parked around the venue. We had one in the front stretch, one in corner 3. And let's see what brought out our second caution of the night.
Mitchell Liam Sullivan, Gary Wright, and Hunter Henry all involved in that caution. Gonna follow along with the 6 car of Gary Wright right now. So looks like he just gets loose out of 4. Parked himself down on the front stretch, and it's really tough to get turned around when you're facing the wrong direction right there.
Absolutely, and I almost don't think he would have that much considerable damage. He had a decent tap there off the inside wall, but in the end, I think if it weren't for the fact that we have an endless parade of cars going by, I think he'd be okay, and looks like he did get it turned around. Oh, okay, yeah, that gets dangerous, because again, Nick Nickerson, your race leaders, guy's got to get by, so this is brutal for him. There we go, finally a guy dips to his... Oh, is that Kevin Foster? Okay, Kevin had to park it there in the 8 car. That's going to be a problem all night, Evan. I don't envy these drivers, because once you get out of a brief stint of trying to just keep your head up and avoid drivers, you get a caution, and suddenly it turns into trying to work out parking at a giant parking terminal. So tonight's race is going to be tough on these guys. I think it's a very fitting regular season finale, but man, the poor 6 car there, he must have felt kind of helpless in that situation.
Yeah, we also had some trouble for Hunter Henry, driver of the 94 car, so we're going to go ahead and follow along with him, see if we can see what happened with that 94. He got loose just coming out of the opposite turn down there in the grass a little bit. When you get in the grass, oh, that's really not good.
Jackson.
I believe that was Mitchell Liam Sullivan in the 18 car that he pulled up into. I believe so.
Yes, you would have been right. We just have many identical black and red cars in this series.
Yeah, there are a lot of matching paint schemes. So, yeah, that was Hunter Henry pulled up on Mitchell Liam Sullivan. May not have known that he was there. But a little bit of trouble for him and trouble for a couple of other cars. I believe this under pace laps. Matt Crockett and Brandon Jackson. Oh, this wasn't under pace. Yeah, this was soon as it went yellow, everybody trying to slow down for him getting turned around. I don't believe there was any contact there, though, luckily. So we're heading back live now, second caution of the day. And it took so much time to look at all that lights are already out on the pace car and on the back stretch.
Yes, indeed. We're going to go to green for the 3rd time in tonight's race. Nick Nickerson's still your leader, but Benny Hogan, he's going to be on the outside this time. He doesn't have Ferraro like he did there on the race start. Curtis Yancey, Cody Welch, 2 very aggressive big names in the series who have had great seasons so far. I think they're going to try to become the 2nd multiple-time winner of the season. But Nick Nickerson, a great jump. Once again, green flag at 5 flags, and already side-by-side for 2nd. Curtis Yancey utilizing that inside line to perfection.
Yeah, Curtis Yancey with a good jump, and that's something that really can help you out here. If you're starting off in 3rd, you're in the better spot than starting off in 2nd, as with most short tracks. But that 88 car of Benny Hogan really going to be stuck up on the outside right now. Anytime you start up on the outside line like here, even though they say that there's multiple grooves on this track, there's the inside lane is definitely the preferred one. And if you can't get down, you're going to be in some trouble, that's for sure.
Well, the other problem as well is once you get in that situation, because even on the straights, guys aren't usually running right to the wall, you don't have draft help either, because the guys in front of you are probably going to side with the guy on your inside in those runs side by side down the straight. So it is not an easy situation. But Kevin Foster now up into the top 5. We got both identical Nick Nickerson cars on each end of the top 5. So Kevin Foster doing his very best to keep that backwards momentum for Benny Hogan going, try to get that number 4 spot for himself, and maybe bring Peter Murphy with him. Got a few names here in that upper pack that, I mean, have had pretty good seasons to this point. But guys, I mean, at the end of the regular season, definitely going to want to kick it up into a new gear. I think I saw Trey Ellis in the background get a little bit loose, and somebody's in the barrier. I think that's Hunter Henry once again. Massive shunt there into that in the pit entry wall, that big white tire there, and now up to speed. But that will bring out our third caution of the night.
That's going to be Hunter Henry. Cale Zook also involved in that one. Caution here on lap 32 of 150. So following along again with the 94 car of Hunter Henry. Oh, and the 44 of Cale Zook actually is the one who started that. Let's follow along from his perspective. So here you can see the 44 car, he comes in here. The 83 dives below him, causes the 44 to get loose, and nowhere for Hunter Henry to go. Finsler also involved, as is the 76 of Mark Allen Bivens. But yeah, a little bit of a tap for the 44, and just nothing that Hunter Henry can do. We're going to go ahead and follow it from Henry's perspective.
Yeah, really, you'll see here. I mean, the only other option he had to avoid there, Evan, was to take the pit road. Like, I don't know what else the poor guy was going to do. And really, at 5 flags, we're going to get a lot of situations like that. And I found most of the time this year, whenever we go to one of these short tracks, where it becomes so much about relying on the luck and not getting taken out by somebody else. Luckily, the leaders have, for the most part, been able to stay out of that. But that may not be the case towards the end. So keep an eye on lap traffic and in reference to the position of some of our leaders, including the driver who's led every lap so far tonight, Mr. Nick Nickerson.
Yeah, so a couple drivers have been on pit road. Finsler's been in twice. Moran and Greenwell both have been on pit road, as has Cale Zook 2 times, Bivens 2 times, Gary Wright 3 times, and Mitchell Liam Sullivan 3 times. Nick Nickerson, though, still the driver out front, still the man to beat. Lights still on the pace car right now. And Kevin Foster sitting in 5th position, so a great run from him. I saw somebody shout out him in the chat.
Well, we're already a fifth of the way through this race, which didn't take us much time at all. But I mean, really, that's part of the whole short track style, is that these caution laps go by so quickly. And well, I think that's going to be good for guys like Nick Nickerson and Curtis Yancey, because you really kind of get in a groove here. I find, at least in my own efforts at 5 flags, you kind of get in a rhythm here with the corners, hitting the apexes, hitting your marks and the brakes, and coasting and braking and throttle control are so key here. And that's basically all the lap comes down to, because you spend very little time on the gas. So if you take a little bit too much time out of the groove and out of the rhythm, you start to lose that, flow. And well, now Curtis Yancey, the poor guy, is now on the outside. That horrible line that Benny Hogan was stuck with on the last restart. It's a green flag for the 4th time in tonight's race. A very long wait there for Nick Nickerson, but now he gets a great jump, and Cody Welch might take advantage. He's to the quarter panel of the number 51 car. So Cody Welch trying to do what Curtis Yancey did in front of him that very last time, and Benny Hogan stuck on the high line again. He is side by side with Kevin Foster for 4th, a little ways back.
Yeah, Yancey doing everything he can to battle on the top. Yancey should be at his hometown track, I believe. Maybe not. I believe that Yancey is a little bit south of 5 flags, but that 51 car that Yancey is driving, it looks to me as if it is a very similar paint scheme to Stephen Nassy. Really good short track driver. He can be nasty Nassy or classy Nassy. That's what they like to say about him around the short track world. So we'll see if Yancey is going to act like his paint scheme brethren and act classy or nasty today. As we say that, though, a pass for the back. Brandon Jackson passing Trey Ellis.
Yeah, Action Jackson attempting to do what Curtis Yancey just did successfully a moment ago. I mean, I think he channeled some of that short track ability, because he did hold off Cody Welch from the top line, but Brandon Jackson's going to do the same thing. And it's so important, once you get that run around the outside, you got to send it to the inside quick, because that door can open, and once it does, somebody is going to just send it down there on the inside. So once Brandon Jackson leaves the door open for Trey Ellis, he's got to make sure he closes it ASAP. And he's got Peter Murphy in front of him as well as Brett Guzik. So two guys that have been up there since the start and are doing pretty successfully well. But Ricky Hart there was moving his way through the field in the 64 car. He's had a great night to this point. I know that, again, this is my first season I've covered him. He's only had one win in front of my eyes so far. But, I mean, Evan, you talk about last season, the guys seem to be borderline unstoppable here at all sorts of ovals. So tonight, kind of the type of track that the 64 seems comfortable in, to my knowledge. So it's working for him so far, and one of the few guys that seems to be able to consistently make his way through the field so far tonight.
Yeah.
Well, Peter Murphy showed a little bit there in 4. I think Action Jackson's going to take the advantage, and he will send it up the inside into corner number 1, and Trey Ellis, not too far behind, might try to peek his nose under as well.
Yeah, great move for the 99 of Action Jackson. I know he told us before the broadcast that he just wanted to hang out in the back and kind of watch what was going on and everything, but it sure doesn't look like he is doing that anymore. He's out looking to make a move, and as I say that, a couple of drivers, an accident in the yellow flag is going to be out. Benjamin Lacey, the driver involved.
Yeah, I saw the 7 car there in the background in a couple of my shots. Looks like he was having a little bit of oversteer, so I wonder if this is a similar situation earlier where he just lost the back end on corner exit. Gets a little bit into that bumpy patch there on the inside through corner number 4, and yeah, just simple as that. The back end gets a little bit of oversteer, and simple as that, the 7 car finds himself on the inside wall.
Yeah,
a little bit easier to make his way out, though, because at least he wasn't parked backwards like the last situation there with the 6 car.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, that's for sure. Right now, while we're under caution, we'll go ahead and see if we can pull somebody in to the broadcast booth. See if we can pull in the driver of the 99 car that we were just talking about, Brandon Jackson. Hey Brandon, this is Evan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh man, we're having fun out here. Ripping the high side, picking our way through the field. It's a lot of fun actually. When we get some green flag laps in, it takes me a little bit to get going, but having fun, picking my way around the outside and just doing my thing.
You said you wanted to have fun, hang out in the back. What are you doing up here in 6th position?
Well, the competitive driver in me just decided, I gotta go, and I want to go right now. I can't control myself, okay? Leave me alone.
Yeah, trying to make things happen early here. I also see that as you predicted before the race, there have been a couple of cautions, but luckily for you, you were able to use the best of your green flag laps and make it all the way up 13 positions from where you started up 6. So good job for you, and I guess I'll go ahead and let you get back to pacing.
Hey man, we ain't pacing, we ain't racing, so we'll see what we can do here to the green. I want to go to the front though, with the 99 out front where she belongs.
All right, sounds good. I'll be looking for that 99 out front.
See you.
All right, so of course that was Brandon Jackson, biggest mover of the race so far.
Well, we know that Brandon knows what he's doing here at these short tracks. He was our Iowa winner this season, so he's done it before. But green flag here tonight for the 5th time. Mr. Nick Nickerson will take it to the green, and once again, Curtis Yancey finding his way through there on the outside line. If he can get down, he might be okay, but honestly, I think it might be best to go for Nick Nickerson for the time being. Nobody's touched our race leader all race, and a great start for Curtis Yancey is putting Nick Nickerson on the back foot here right off the start.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there almost before the race start for the 2 of Jackson, or for the 2 of Nickerson and the 51 of Yancey. It looked like they were both squeezing each other a little bit in order to get the best start possible, and they both squeezed a little bit too much till there was some contact, but the 2 of Nick Nickerson got the better of that inside line. and has your lead on lap 53 of 150. The 85 of Cody Welch with the move on the outside right now. Kevin Foster down to the inside looking to grab third position.
Yeah, I got a little bit loose there, though, in 2. That inside the line can bite you after a while, especially on colder tires at the start of a stint, so it may cost him there. Jackson already up 1 spot here off the restart, and he's going to go for 2. Down to the inside, and Kevin Foster. Kevin is just looking like he's having a little bit of a grip. I don't think he's taking tires to this point, so it is going to cost the number 8 car, but Brandon Jackson takes over the 4th spot. Kevin Foster still in the top 5, just like his paint brethren, Mr. Nick Nickerson, who still holds down the race lead, but Brandon Jackson, just talked to him a moment ago, he seems pretty laid back, but man, he is driving like a guy who has his eyes focused and is on the mark here tonight at Five Flags.
Yeah, Brandon Jackson, your biggest mover so far, but another big mover, the 89 car, Paul Wilson, also up 15 positions from where he started, right now sitting in 7th position in that 89 car. We saw him dodge a wreck just a little bit earlier, and now he's looking to the inside of the 88 of Benny Hogan.
Yeah, Paul Wilson really coming out of nowhere tonight. Again, I'm looking for those guys that are going to make big statements here coming into the playoffs and just kick it into a new gear for themselves, and he gets Hogan. Peter Murphy will as well. Benny Hogan, the poor guy there, since the start qualified great, but since then has just been having struggles staying in that inside line, and as a result, guys are just going to pick on him and take that all night. So once he gets it figured out, I think he's going to be a force just like he was in qualifying, but for now, the poor 88 car is not having a very successful start to the race. At least it's not as much as I'd imagine he'd like.
Up at the front, though, Nick Nickerson may be out front, but Curtis Yancey is not letting that lead get very far, but it looked like we were about to have 3 wide here for a second. But look at Paul Wilson now taking over the spot from Brandon Jackson as your biggest mover, up now 17 positions as he moves his way into the top 5, trying to get inside of Kevin Foster.
The guy just looks on rails. I mean, his line just looks so solid. Look at how close he gets to that outside wall there, Evan. Like, he seems comfortable in the car. He's putting it right on the white line there on the apexes. And, man, Action Jackson, again, you've been your biggest mover, the guy with the most forward momentum. But Paul Wilson doing his very best to try to mimic that. But we got side by side a little ways back, Peter Murphy and Kevin Foster the outside. And with Ricky Hart not too far behind, as well as Brett Guzik. If I'm the 8 car, I'm really getting to the inside line soon. And Ricky Hart is going to take that position if he doesn't get down. And it looks like there he goes, the 64 car going by, and Brett Guzik is going to train by him as well. That 8 car needs to get down to the bottom desperately. We got quite the side-by-side going on up front between Welch and Yancey for 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th. Welch goes around the back end, loses it. What a save by the 85 car. That is how you keep the hands moving. Cody Welch, take a bow. But Paul Wilson is up to 2nd. The 89 car is on rails right now. I don't know if he took tires on a pit stop or what, but the 89 car is just slicing through tonight's grid.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's one thing that I was going to mention. Paul Wilson has pitted one time, so there's a possibility that he could have took tires, whether intentionally to get himself up here and out of the mess that's behind him, or maybe he accidentally took tires and now he's just trying to make the best of it. I know that's something that the 99 car said that he did last week. He didn't mean to take tires, but he accidentally did, so he just had to make the best of it. That could be what you're seeing out of the 89 car. But nevertheless, up 20 positions from the start. Great start from the 89. Is now here you see Peter Murphy to the inside of Curtis Yancey and taking away the 3rd position.
Yeah, Peter Murphy, one of those guys that I guess more so than many others is kind of in that cutoff of the playoffs. But Cody Welch, the car's been all over the place, and there it goes into the wall. He has just been having oversteer problems for ages. I don't know if it's damage or if he got tapped there from behind. He's up to speed, but the 85 car looking like it's on ice skates right now in lovely Pensacola, Florida. That just does not add up. Well, there you see Cody Welch up top. He doesn't look too miffed or unpleased, but yeah, he's got to find a way to walk that back of the car down. He's starting to do so, but man, I think if I'm him, just get on the inside, get a rhythm figured out, and fall in behind Christopher Ferrara, who at least as of earlier seemed to have a general idea of how to keep pace here at Five Flags, just like he did in qualifying.
There you can see him working the steering wheel. Your Lucas Oil winner and 4 top 5s on the season. He definitely knows how to drive a race car, and there you see driving every bit of it right now. He
is, but starting to fall back a little ways from Oh, Mr. Christopher Ferrara up front. So I think he's having just general pace problems. I don't think the 85 car of Cody Welch is entirely up to speed, and that's not a gear that he would have been used to so far this season, because anytime we see him, Evan, I mean, we both know he is going just flat out every time he's on the racetrack. So that may be going to throw off the 85 car a little bit. But now it looks like Wilson in the 89 still in the top 3, but starting to lose a little bit of that momentum. Peter Murphy up front is gaining some speed, and he's also trying to track down your race leader, Mr. Nick Nickerson. That gap cut down by about a full second since we last checked in. Whoa, Brett Guzik.
Yeah, Brett Guzik to the inside there of Paul Wilson. Wilson going to be able to hold on to it after that, and Ricky Hart Jr. was in the back trying to capitalize on whatever happened. But Benny Hogan out here able to get by Curtis Yancey. Yancey in the 51 car all the way back to 9th position and about to be in 10th after Trey Ellis gets to his inside.
But we saw even off that last restart, Yancey knows what he's doing there from the top line. He can find a way to make it work. So just because Trey Ellis has the preferred line, I wouldn't guarantee this battle to go the way of the 4 car. Still side by side, not giving him much room, but there we go. Trey Ellis on the inside will successfully make the move, and I think Yancey doesn't have enough momentum to try to make the pass in a 1 and 2, and he won't. So Trey Ellis up into the 4 spot. Now he can try to go track down Benny Hogan, who, after some earlier struggles earlier in the stint, seems to have gotten things figured out.
Yeah, huge move there for Trey Ellis. And here you see the 38 car of Peter Murphy challenging for the lead. He got under the 2 of Nick Nickerson. It looks like he's going to be able to make the pass here on the backstretch. New leader here in Pensacola. It's the 38 of Peter Murphy on lap 75 of 150. Nick Nickerson down to second place, and Brett Guzik up 11 spots from the start, challenging from third. It's really interesting if you look at our 3rd through 6th position right now. Brett Guzik up 11 spots from the start, sitting in 3rd. Right behind him, Paul Wilson up 18 spots from the start, sitting in 4th. Then Ricky Hart Jr. behind him, up 10, and Brandon Jackson behind him, sitting in 6th position, up 13 spots from where he started.
I think so much of what we're seeing here as we move on. Now, Brett Guzik going to go to the inside of the 2 car of Nickerson. I'd be really curious to see our pit graphic to this point, just to see on tires, because I have the feeling that those guys that have pitted to this point, they're still not quite to the end of that stint there where their tires are kind of in the later period of their prime. I mean, for those guys that pitted not too long ago, guys like Paul Wilson are still pretty quick. And that's Curtis Yancey coming down pit road. Looks like he's going to bank on a longer green flag stint and going to prioritize the tires. But yeah, I mean, Peter Murphy and Brett Guzik, you got to get the feeling they've pitted at some point for tires, because Nick Nickerson, who we guarantee hasn't, he's been in the lead for over half this race. His just have to be dying. He can now do this race on a 1-stop in terms of tires if he wants. But I mean, Brett or Murphy and Guzik don't have that same luxury because they've already taken one. But I think those guys that already did, maybe Evan, it was the primary strategy. And now Wilson going to make the move with both Hart and Nickerson, 2 titans of this series, battling with the 89 car, who sits, well, I think currently 47th in the points. So Paul Wilson making a name for himself tonight, and maybe that 2 tire stop early in the race strategy much more ideal.
Yeah, if we pull up our pit stop strategy, Peter Murphy and Brett Guzik have taken tires. Nick Nickerson been out there 79 laps so far, as has Jackson and Foster. But Hart, Wilson, Ellis, and Ferrara have all pitted. And one driver that I want to highlight, I believe I've already done it a little bit. We already talked to him once, but Brandon Jackson, he's up there. As many spots as he's gained, it's not surprising to see Nick Nickerson up there sitting in 4th right now, since he started so high up and he kept the lead for so long. But Brandon Jackson, he has 80 laps on those tires, but he worked his way up 13 positions now from where he started.
Well, I think one thing that's going to be really interesting is now that we know, Evan, that while partially using yellows, guys like Nickerson and Jackson, as we see Paul Wilson get to the inside, so the 89 car is now past the, race leader from most of tonight's event. So that should say something about how much the tides have shifted here in Pensacola, Florida. But really, I mean, it's going to come down to pit lengths. I mean, how long can you go in a tank of fuel? And multiple guys went 80 laps, even with yellow help. We got a wreck in turn 4, and our race leader, Peter Murphy, has to slam into the outside wall to avoid it. That'll give Brett Guzik the lead and Ricky Hart second coming up to our caution. But those guys that just pitted there for new tires like Curtis Yancey, that is not what they wanted in terms of strategy.
All right, so involved there, Thomas Finsler, Connor Sawyer, and obviously Peter Murphy. See him heading into pit road right now. We're going to go ahead and see if we can head to a replay. As there you see the 90 car stopped on the front stretch. Watching the 48 of Connor Sawyer, and there you see, most likely on older tires, just gets a little bit loose right as Bill Harkins is heading into the pits, and up there on the outside, nowhere really to go. And there you see your race leader, the 38 car, have to get up into the wall to stay away from him. A couple other drivers up into the wall. Nick Nickerson able to miss it down low. He also up into the wall, I believe that was Garrett Hall, the 26 car. For Connor Sawyer in the 48 was finally able to get it around. Also trouble for Thomas Finsler, I believe. Let's see. Let's watch him. So already a damaged 17 car for Finsler. Working his way around the top, and there you see just stopping to let the 48 get around.
I mean, you talk about the move there from Peter Murphy, who you see there in the back of your screen. I think the 38 card, though it may have been costly and given him quite a bit of damage, I think it was the right move to make on instinct. And in the end, whoa, huge wreck. Here we see back to a replay. This was just as the leaders began to get onto pit road. I don't know what happened there, but whether it was an oversteer situation, maybe a damaged car having some troubles, but whatever it was, that was the third big collision of this one caution period.
Yeah, so here we're watching the 17 of Thomas Finsler. You see, obviously, he stopped to let the 48 of Connor Sawyer get by. And then I don't know if I believe he had some trouble there, as he immediately, his car just shot down to the inside lane and nowhere for Marshall Moran to go. So we're on the roll bar with Marshall Moran as he gets the free pass, heads down to the inside, and you see the 17 up there on the outside, and just nowhere for Marshall Moran to go there into the inside wall. And that's really unfortunate, especially for the driver that was supposed to be getting the free pass.
And the free pass at this point in the race, Evan, I mean, so vital considering as tough as we've seen it as it is to make moves in large quantities. I mean, I guess Wilson and Hart have been trying to put the kibosh on that theory, but really so hard to make those moves. So right as we go back to green, we'll see who can do just that. Victor Weaver is going to be your race leader here on this restart. Brett Guzik kind of gets tripped up there on the outside off the start. So green flag, but Paul Wilson all the way to the top. He's in the battle. He's going to send it up top. Victor Weaver on old tires is just a sitting duck here in this pack. And as a result, the 04 car of Brett Guzik is going to take advantage. Further back, we got a crash. Is that Nick Nickerson, our series lead? No, it's Kevin Foster. The identical livery certainly not given any help, but no caution as of yet. We're still green, so there's our sixth caution of the day. That was a little bit delayed, but what a weird situation. A great three-wide battle there off the start, but a little ways back, Kevin Foster brings out caution number 6.
Yeah, another yellow flag, and we saw it as it happened. Kevin Foster going around Mark Allen Bivens, getting into him up on the outside. You see such a great battle here, and was there contact? Can't exactly tell whether there was contact or not between the 8 car, and I believe that was the 13 under him. Following along with Bivens right now. So you see the smoke up in front and right into the back of Kevin Foster. So big damage for those guys. You see right now the 8 car on pit road. That's definitely not going to be good for him, but Brett Guzik in the 04 car, the driver that is currently out front. Brett Guzik right now up 13 spots from where he started, and Paul Wilson sitting in second position, up 20 from where he started. Wilson's going to do his best to start up there on the outside lane, but it's going to be tough for him. We've seen how guys on the outside lane have been all night. But Nick Nickerson sitting there in third position, in probably the second best place that he could be sitting, looking to capitalize on the 89.
Yeah, I think at this point it's really the best place, as you say, you could possibly be. I mean, guys on the top line have found a way to make it work. Curtis Yancey was the one that comes to mind earlier. He had a great effort there from the top line to hold it above the cars on the inside. But really, yeah, it's going to be the inside driver's game. You just got to get right up to the back bumper of the car in front. And I guess Nick Nickerson really not used to starting with somebody in front of him all that much this season. Nick Nickerson, I probably think, has taken the most green flag starts from the number one spot of anybody this season. So he is no doubt maybe going to be a little bit out of his element here in this situation. But one guy I just want to talk about quickly in terms of the overall championship points, because tonight is our regular season finale, Mr. Alan Castle there in what I believe is the number 93 car. He's kind of the last guy that comes into relevance tonight in terms of the championship points. I mean, Jarek Radzicki, who is the last cutoff driver in terms of points, just sitting outside of the cutoff. He didn't make the race tonight, at least not as far as I could tell. So he is not going to be in that conversation. But then after that, Alan Castle, who sits coming into the race 50 points back at Jason Greenwell, the current cutoff driver. He's going to need to do something big here at the end, or he needs a new driver to get a win here this season, and that would put him in. So with Guzik and Wilson on the inside and outside, if the 89 car can get some pace here on the start, well, the 93 might get his wish. But green flag tonight for the 7th time here at Five Flags. Great jump from the 93 of Wilson, but again, I don't think it'll be enough. Nick Nickerson doing everything he needs to there on the bottom, but not a bad run here for the 93 car. You see on the blimp car, they are dead even coming into turn number 3. But Nick Nickerson in the 2 car, he's last week's winner. We know he's got pace. He is going to put it to good use. This battle is interesting here between Murphy and Hart. Hart gets the inside line, almost gets into the back of Action Jackson. That would have been an action-packed corner if that had happened, but Peter Murphy's still doing his very best in the 38 car to hold it on the outside of Hart. He has not given up that battle for 5th.
Yeah, Murphy doing a great job, and as you saw on the cameras, just a little bit of trouble for the 51 car as they were coming to green. I'm not exactly sure what happened with Curtis Yancey, but Yancey slow on that start and now sitting back in 17th position. So not exactly sure what happened, but Paul Wilson losing the spot to Brandon Jackson. Jackson up into 3rd position. Wilson down into 4th, but still doing a great job to stay up here in the top 5.
He is, and really our theory from earlier that it's just on tires has kind of gone out the window as a result. But here's the side-by-side battle between Ellis and Ferrara. This is for 8th position. That's Benny Hogan right there in front, and then they got a ways back to a giant pack of cars started by Kevin Foster. Weaver and Henry are side-by-side, Lacey and Crockett after that. Battles all throughout, and again, I just talked about a moment ago, the 93 car of Alan Castle. Keep an eye on him, because he is your final transfer car to the playoffs here if we get a new winner, or he gets enough points to outscore Jason Greenwell there as the cutoff driver.
Yeah, so here you can see this big old pack just comprised of a lot of drivers, including our birthday boy right there in the 11 car. But still up at the front of the pack, a battle between Benjamin Lacey and Hunter Henry. Henry, the one on the outside in the silver car. And trouble off the track for Connor Sawyer, driver of the 48, but able to get to pit road before anything happens. So Benjamin Lacey going to wind up in 12th. Hunter Henry in 13th, going to take that spot away. A little bit behind them, though. It's where you see Cale Zook, driver of the 44 car, down on the inside of the 85 of Cody Welch. Both of those drivers going to be one lap down, but still a hearty battle right there.
Yeah, Cody Welch, you'd imagine, not used to running with a lot of these guys here in kind of the mid-pack area. Cody Welch, a guy that all season has either been in the front pack or out of the race entirely. So the fact that he's in this position is going to mean that he's going to need to work his way by a couple of new faces. And here is Paul Wilson a little ways further up in the field, right to the inside there on Ricky Hart. So the 89 car gets that spot back, maybe as a result of lap interference. You saw the 6 car there getting involved in that battle. But well, Paul Wilson, I am just so impressed with what we've seen from him tonight, Evan. I mean, I talked about it pre-race. We're going to need to see guys really make a statement, really make a push there to the end of the season. And I don't think, unfortunately, because how many races he's won, that he is playoff eligible. So even if he takes the green flag here, or the checkered flag, I should say, here at Five Flags, don't think he'll be playoff eligible. But man, he is doing everything he can in that 89 car to keep himself in the top 5. And I've been really impressed with the next gear he's been able to find.
Yeah, I don't believe the 89 car is going to be playoff eligible this season. But if the 89 car is here next season, he's definitely going to be one that I'm going to keep an eye on at the short tracks. Paul Wilson doing a spectacular job today and able to hold off Ricky Hart Jr.
Got to look up front, though, because Nick Nickerson is reeling in Brett Guzik. And again, after Guzik had all that pace earlier on a better tire strategy, at least there at the beginning, well, Nick is going to make him pay for it now. The 2-car is finding time everywhere, and you got to think the guy that was fastest in practice and qualifying is going to have some tips and tricks here on how to keep it on the inside line and how to make fast laps. And there you see the driver of the number 2 car, 3 wins, 6 top 5s this season. He has just been on rails after finishing runner-up last season to Ricky Hart, who was, well, incredible in his own right. Nick's kind of taken over that mantle this season, and though he may be in second right now, the only driver with multiple wins this season. You talked about it pre-race, Evan. How crazy would it be if he were able to make it 4 in the regular season?
He's definitely looking to do so, and definitely capable fastest lap time put down in qualifying. And Nick Nickerson looking to get by the 04 of Brett Guzik, but don't count out the 99 of Brandon Jackson directly behind them. He said he wanted to have fun before the race, and he sure does look like he's having fun right now, sitting there in third position. If the caution were to come out, I would say that third position is a good place to be, so the 99 might just want to hang out right there.
Yeah, I think it'll really come down to how does Nick Nickerson anticipate to get this spot. I mean, the bump and run has got to be the thing on every driver's minds when you're trying to defend here at a track like 5 Flags. You just got to hold the inside, but if the guy behind you says, no, you can get out of my way and I'll push you physically with my own car, well, it becomes borderline impossible to do just that. So yeah, I think if this goes a little bit further on, and as much as it feels like we're pretty early on in the stages of this race, we only have 37 to go, which under green just takes about maybe 12, 13 minutes. So if we go green the rest of this race, which again, I don't want to jinx, it is going to leave Nick Nickerson and Brandon Jackson without as much time as you'd think, but 4 wide almost through corner number 4. What a battle we're seeing right here. Both Hart and Wilson still holding off Benny Hogan, who's making his way back through the field. Great stint here for the 88 car, but Ricky Hart trying to take that spot back, but he didn't get a chance to cut down early enough. And if he loses that spot to the 89 car, he's going to lose it to Hogan too, but still holds on. A little bit oversteer for the 89 car. Ricky Hart there, you see him up in the top right. Looks calm, but maybe that's just the VR. The green pit cone gets hit, but it is a casualty of a great battle. Wilson in the 89 car slides to the inside, takes contact from the inside wall. Is he up to speed? He is, but considerable damage to the rear spoiler of that car.
Yeah, good bit of damage for Paul Wilson in the 89 car. 4 race starts on the season. But you were seeing Ricky Hart Jr. And one thing that you said a little bit earlier talking about Brett Guzik and Nick Nickerson is that you always have to be on the lookout for that bump and run. Well, the thing is, Nick Nickerson has to be careful when he does that bump and run, because here on lap 117 of 150, we're getting close to the end, but if Nick Nickerson does a bump and run on the 04 car and the 04 gets back to the 2 car's bumper, well, you can bet that he's going to bump him even harder and run. So that's definitely something that you have to be on the lookout for before you do that.
Absolutely. And I mean, think about the stakes here. I mean, I just talked about Nick is going for win number 4 this season. That would be a great milestone for him. But Brett Guzik doesn't have a win yet this year. And though on points, he's almost guaranteed to get locked in there into the playoffs. Man, how great would it feel to get some momentum into the playoffs to get that first win of the season for the 04 car. But this is the battle between Lacey and Ferrara here for 8th. And man, Lacey is working his way through the field. The guy who's had a great season so far has kind of been the guy that, well, for a while we thought was the best driver without a race win. Then he got his race win. So now at this point, the 7 car just trying to, again, the same way I just talked about for Guzik, just trying to build up some momentum before the next round, and he is doing so. But back to the lead battle, the 2 car as close as he's been in ages.
These guys really, really close. 15/10 of a second away through the corners. And there you see the 04 slides a little high, and that 2 car is looking down low. 2 Mustangs battling it out at the front. Lap 121 of 150. Jason Greenwell there you saw on the inside coming in to pit road. A little battle right here. Trey Ellis getting by Paul Wilson now in the 89. Victor Weaver going to look to follow in that 20 car.
Yeah, Victor Weaver, that car in the 23 there looks spotless. So you got to think he's going to have more horsepower and more of a piece of technology there working for him than perhaps Wilson, who we saw have that big shot there off the inside wall there a couple laps back. But now the battle between Murphy and Lacey. Lacey's been working his way forward. Peter Murphy's kind of fallen back. So you got to think if the momentum swaps here, we might see the 7 car up into the 7th spot. Now he's got the inside line, sends it in on Murphy. Murphy's going to lose the spot to Lacey, but he's got to lock down that inside line out of 4. Ferrara doesn't quite get to his back bumper, so Peter Murphy will hold down 8th, but Benjamin Lacey has had some great momentum here to the later stages of this race. He is up to 7th.
Yeah, Benjamin Lacey with the great momentum and getting it at the right time. But he has a little bit of a ways to go before he gets up to Kevin Foster, up there sitting in 6th position right now.
Yeah, Kevin Foster's looked composed tonight. I think, Evan, that's the one thing I've kind of thought of him all season. He's not one of those guys that you can, really look at as accident prone. He's not a guy that once he gets in a spot, you really think is a risk to lose it in any method other than somebody just really quick catching him. But no, he's been smooth all season, and he's doing it again tonight, looking for a 6th place spot, which in a race as competitive as it has been tonight at 5 Flags would not be a bad spot. But there is Curtis Yancey making the move on Mr. Hunter Henry.
Yeah, you saw the 51 car right after he made the pass, really loose coming through the corner. But still able to make the pass. Yancey all the way back down in 13th position right now.
Curtis Yancey's always a guy that just seems to have his hands move in every race. He looks like one of the more energetic drivers in our series in terms of how he's able to keep that back end twitching. He'd be a guy I'd be really curious to have a Skype camera on in the future, but looks like he doesn't for tonight's race purposes. But Trey Ellis now ahead of Christopher Ferrara. I believe he was not before, so the 4 car is not only up in the top 10, he's up into 9th, and not too far back of Murphy and Christopher Ferrara if he wants to hold down that 10th place spot. And again, same as many other guys, try to get some momentum there into the playoffs. Well, he's going to have to lock it down. But this is the lead battle once again. In the 04 car is not going to have an easy time here trying to hold off the 2 car. We'll look at the lap traffic surrounding him. There's, I think, Alan Castle a little ways up front, Garrett Hall as well, and well, Brett Guzik in a way. I mean, he's going to have to hold the bottom line anyway, so you might as well have a block to your high side. And Nick Nickerson, he's going to really have to pick his battles here if he wants to pull out the win in only 20 laps to go, about 8 minutes in terms of race time.
21 laps to go. Guzik out front, Nickerson in second. Everybody trying to deal with the lap traffic, but look at Brandon Jackson and what that lap traffic has allowed him to gain. Jackson now on the tail of Nick Nickerson. It's going to be a tight battle for the top 3 here with 20 laps to go. Even if we don't have a caution, these guys bunched up together.
Yes, indeed. And Nick Nickerson and Brandon Jackson, 2 guys that have a lot of experience running together this season. I mean, talk about the Auto Club race I covered a few weeks back. They were basically the only 2 main talking points of that entire race. The 2 guys that were back and forth the entire time. They've had some great battles at the Iowa race that Brandon won. They have been together all season. But Brett Guzik, a guy that's come so close so many times to this top spot, but really, we haven't seen him break through that threshold to a consistent late race top spot. So if he can get a battle between those 2 longtime veterans and 2 rivals of the series, if he can get that battle to get hooked up, he may be okay here in these last 18 laps to get win number 1 this season.
Yeah, like you said, Guzik's had plenty of opportunities, but just hasn't been able to capitalize on it. Hasn't been his season so far, but definitely looking to make it happen tonight. As now you see Brandon Jackson still on the tail of Nick Nickerson, but even closer now, in trouble for Connor Sawyer. As the caution flag is going to come out.
Yeah, that'll be huge for the finish here. The 48 car has had some troubles tonight keeping it on the track, and you see there on the Skype camera, Brandon Jackson in some way, not sure for what reason, maybe just doesn't want to worry about one more restart. Thought he had the momentum there, but the 99 driver is looking flustered.
Yeah, driver of the 99, very obviously upset. Really didn't want that caution to come out. He was having a good little battle there between Nick Nickerson and Brett Guzik, but I'd say Jackson is going to be in a really good spot come this restart. Let's go ahead and see exactly what happened, though, following along inside the car with Connor Sawyer, driver of the 48. So Ricky Hart Jr. right in front of him and just getting loose off of turn 2. Going to put him around inside to the inside wall, and when you're facing there, you could really see how tough it is for him to find a spot to turn around. There really is no good time.
Yeah, the only thing tougher than trying to keep a car that has oversteer problems steady through the corners is doing it right behind another car, and with Ricky Hart sitting there in front of him, it would have messed up the aerodynamic flow of that car and would have put him on the back foot. But this is going to be fascinating. Hunter Henry now takes over the top spot tonight because we're going to have one more pit cycle. Guys are going to prioritize tires here late, rightfully so. but that has shaken up our order significantly. Nick Nickerson will come out second. Alan Castle will come out third. Sorry, Guzik will come out third. So we're starting to reshuffle here a little bit because now that Hunter Henry and a couple other guys are going to come into the pits. But this will shuffle our order here, Evan. And well, Nick Nickerson, the guy that looked like he was going to have the worst spot of anybody there in the top three, he's sitting there on the outside of the front row where guys have struggled all night. Well, now he takes over the top spot, the best place I'd argue you can possibly be. And Action Jackson will be the guy that gets that nod there to the inside. And I don't know about you, Evan. I mean, I think you know him better than I do, but Action Jackson, he seems like the bump and run type, especially towards a guy that has plenty of wins this season. Maybe doesn't need it as much as the guy sitting in second on the next restart, Mr. Brett Guzik.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen Action Jackson do a bump and run, but he definitely seems like the type that would do it. And I don't exactly know what I mean by that, but I would definitely watch out for that 99 car if I was the two of Nick Nickerson. And honestly, coming from the best place to be, the lead, Brett Guzik in the 04 car, now in probably the worst place that he could be. If it was me out there, I would rather be Nick Nickerson or Brandon Jackson. You just never want to be in that second position here at a short track like this because you don't have you really don't have the momentum that inside line does, and it's going to be hard for him to get down. Hopefully for him, he can get down quickly.
Well, I almost think, I mean, thinking about the bigger picture here, Evan. Think about the two guys to his inside. Again, Nick Nickerson and Brandon Jackson have had plenty of battles all season. Those two guys to the inside and you sitting in the catbird seat there in third, I don't think that's a bad place to be at all. I think maybe if Brett Guzik can't get a jump here off the restart that he needs, that may be the better plan. But he is right lined up there with the 2 car. He's jumped ahead a little bit, and now he goes. Green flag here for the 8th time tonight. Great jump for Brett Guzik. Will comfortably clear Action Jackson there a little ways back. Ferrara sideways through the corner. He gets in front of Murphy. He gets in front of Foster. Victor Weaver goes around further back. This has been a chaotic first lap. Caution might come out momentarily. Now 3 wide up the middle. Kevin Foster trying to take every spot he can before it comes out, and now it does. Caution number 8 tonight. Didn't even get a lap, but what an action-packed couple of corners here.
Yellow flag out. Still going to be Nickerson in front. Guzik in second. And Jackson in third. But yeah, you guys, you saw all that action happening, and we're going to go back and we'll watch it one more time. So follow along with the 23 of Victor Weaver. You saw possibly a little bit of contact there. I'm not exactly sure. But the 23 going to be around, and that's what's going to bring out that caution. Oh, a little bit of trouble trying to get it back up to speed.
Well, now I'm really curious to see what that does here for our finish, because we were already going to have a short run there to the end, having about 10 laps. So with one more wrench thrown in the plans of these top guys, this is going to be a maybe 5 4-lap dash to the finish. Essentially, it just becomes, in terms of pure timing perspective, a green-white checkered at any other track. Because what is it, 17-second lap here at 5 flags, 4 laps to go. That'll take us about a minute and a half. So Nick Nickerson is going to be in a comfortable spot, but again, you got to think a guy like Action Jackson or like Brett Guzik there, who did get a great jump there last time, so he held that second spot comfortably. But those kind of guys, if you're put in a spot there where you don't have a ton of time to get that top spot, I think the bump and run is going to seem much more logical there right off the start before you have time to really think it over.
Yeah, 7 laps to go. The bump and run is definitely going to be the thing to do here at 5 Flags Speedway here in Pensacola, Florida. Here, a little bit of trouble for Victor Weaver. Under caution as well. See what happened following the 23 car of Victor Weaver.
I don't know, maybe an end of the line penalty, maybe just came out and had to let some spots by. It doesn't look like he blew his engine, but he's still not up to speed here. There we go. Yeah, I think it just had to let a couple cars by here at 5 Flags. We saw earlier, Evan, with some of the parking lots we get in this race, sometimes you got to reshuffle the spots a little bit. But the lights on the pace car are off, so it'll officially be 4 to go, and we only have 3 laps left before a caution can be called again. Otherwise, the next flag ends the race.
Yeah, so on the back stretch now, 2-car of Nick Nickerson going to be the one to lead us to green. Brett Guzik in the 04, hoping that he gets a little bit better start. And the 99 of Brandon Jackson going to do everything he can on the inside lane. But look at Ricky Hart Jr. up there sitting in 4th position, looking to take advantage. Big jump from the 2-car. 04 going to hope that he can get down, and he'll be able to. And now Ricky Hart Jr. going to be the one hung out to dry. Was up there in 4th position. Looks like he's going to be able to get down in 4th, though. Curtis Yancey in the 51 going to let him down. 4 laps to go.
Nick Nickerson got a little bit high there through 3 and 4 last time by. Gave Guzik a shot, but Guzik didn't take it quite yet. Looks like, again, we talked about earlier, might wait for the bump and run if he does. But Curtis Yancey getting loose at the worst possible time with only 2 laps to go next time by, but he evens it out. He'll hold 6th, battling with Hogan for 6th. We got a wreck there in the back. Does the yellow come out? Huge damage. I think it's the birthday boy, Bill Harkins, the cutoff driver, Alan Castle. The caution's got to come out as the driver's round turn number 2, and it will. Nick Nickerson and Brett Guzik, their battle will have to wait one more caution as we go to a green-white checkered finish.
Yeah, really big incident there on the backstretch. And one thing that I want to point out, Nick Nickerson's last lap was the fastest lap of the race so far. He ran a 17.49, and that is the fastest lap anybody has run this race that Nick Nickerson just ran. So definitely a fast car right there. But as always, let's see what happens. Following along with the 11 of Bill Harkins, you see Matt Crockett there in front of him, and it really all happened before him. It looked like Bill just got caught up in it.
Well, that is, I'd imagine, not the birthday present that the driver of the 11 there was looking out for. He, right at the very end, you'll see here, he just barely gets clipped as the car goes around, and oh, just brutal. Yeah, from his perspective, Bill probably couldn't even see it coming in any way. So, again, just wrong place, wrong time. Nothing the 11 car was going to do about that.
Yeah, big trouble for the 13 of Christopher Ferrara. Not exactly sure what happened to him, but that's kind of what caused the whole incident. Let's see if we can go ahead, rewind, and see if we can follow this 13 car and see what happened. It looks like he may have just got loose here on this start. Yeah, there you see going through the corner, gets loose and tries to save it. Does the best that he can, but into the Five Flag Speedway logo up there. But really, that 13 car not walking away with too much damage, especially compared to the way that some of these cars drove away.
Yeah, for sure. And with 2 laps to go, I don't think car damage, as long as you can kind of lock it down and hold whatever spot you're in, I don't think it'll be the end of the world, certainly. But Alan Castle there in the 93 car is going to either get a wave around or he's going to get sent to the back, because we need our leaders here to group up here as the lights on the pace car still on. So green and white checkered here. We're going to go only 2 to go, and if we get a caution there in the very first lap, then we will go to, I believe, a second green and white checker, at which point we will just serve the next flag, whether it's a yellow or a white. But I mean, Evan, we've done it every race so far this season, or at least every one that I can recall. So it comes down to this. We got 3 main contenders we've talked about the last little while: Nickerson, Guzik, and Jackson, just in the best spots of the field. But you did mention Ricky Hart there in the last restart, and if you want to talk about a guy who can surprise us at the end, he's got to be a pick as well. So so Evan, who are you taking here coming to the final green white, or the first green white checker of the night?
Well, I've got to say Nick Nickerson's got to be the obvious choice. He just ran the fastest lap of the race right before we came to a caution. But something in my gut is telling me to pick the 04 of Brett Guzik or the 99 of Brandon Jackson. I don't know which one. Something in me wants to say that the 04 of Brett Guzik is going to be able to do it tonight. I don't know, but that 2 car is real fast. What do you think?
I have a feeling about Guzik, man. I think he's looking for his first win. He's hungrier than the 2 guys around him. I think he's going to go for the bump here, but Jackson gets a great start in the 99, immediately cuts down. Guzik didn't even wait to try to send it, and it does not work out. 3 wide in the 1 and 2. That went entirely how I didn't imagine it. The 04 car gets slid up. Now Hart's going to go underneath him. Jackson up front as well, trying to hold down the second spot, but Nickerson just got the perfect luck from behind. All sorts of chaos. White flag here at 5 Flags, the 2 car. Well clear. We've got a pile up there in the background. We got a parking lot in turns 1 and 2, and the front stretch. Can Nick Nickerson get around safely? We've only got one more flag. We're going to come to the checkers. Nick Nickerson, the only driver with multiple wins, make it 4 on the season. He will take 40% of the wins this year. Nick Nickerson, back-to-back, puts the 2 in the 2 car, gets 2 in a row here at Five Flags. Brandon Jackson there towards the very end clutches out a second-place spot, takes home another top 5, and Ricky Hart, out of nowhere, capitalizes on Brett Guzik's troubles. But Nick Nickerson, man, he can win anywhere. Takes home the second win at a track under a mile in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so Nick Nickerson with the great finish. You saw all the action that happened there and still trying to get through everything just to get around the track one more time. Let's see if we can take a look at it. So we're following Paul Wilson. Things get stacked up. Everybody trying to get around Paul Wilson, Hunter Henry, Cody Welch. All involved here on the front stretch.
Man, that was nuts there. That was about every chain reaction in the entire universe that could have possibly happened. You see the leaders there coming by. Good thing it was not a little bit earlier there in the lap. But yeah, just one car after another caught another's quarter panel. And just like that, massive wreck will no doubt change some drivers' fortunes here at the end. Paul Wilson was speeding up. This looks like a recipe for some sort of chaos here at the very end.
Nick Nickerson, though, making it his 4th win of the season. He was already locked in, but now he is going to have a little bit bigger advantage for every win that you have.
What a slide.
And big trouble there for the 99 and the 2 car. You see big smiles from the driver of the 2 car as he won. You see the 99 doing his victory burnouts. Remember, we're about to go through our final grid right now. But remember to stick around, because if you want to see who is locked into the playoffs, we're about to go through our final grid right now. And then we still have to talk to our top 3 drivers. And after that, we are going to see who all got into round 1 of the playoffs. So with that, we're going to go ahead and pull up our results. Nick Nickerson, your winner tonight. There you see in the background Brandon Jackson and Ricky Hart Jr. doing burnouts. Nick Nickerson, driver of the 2 car, isn't even on track anymore. But Nick Nickerson, your winner. Jackson second. Ricky Hart Jr. in third. The 04 of Brett Guzik came home in 4th position. Not the night that he was really looking for. Then following him was Benjamin Lacey in 5th. Benny Hogan, the 88 car, in 6th. The 38 of Peter Murphy in 7th. Followed by Trey Ellis, Christopher Ferrara, and Garrett Hall, the 26th, in 10th position.
The duo that started 4th and 5th, Cody Welch and Curtis Yancey, will come home 11th and 12th respectively. After that, Hunter Henry, who had a very chaotic race, but still up 8 spots, starting 21st. Kevin Foster tonight running the same livery as your race winner, Mr. Nick Nickerson. He will come home 14th with Matt Crockett running out the top 15. Paul Wilson, who had such a great race tonight, I think we can both agree, Evan, that was a statement performance from him. And again, though he won't be eligible for the playoffs, can't wait to see what he does going forward. Cale Zook comes home 17th. Victor Weaver 18th. Alan Castle, who I think was your championship cutoff driver, don't think it'll make it with Guzik not taking home the win there, but he will come home 19th. And Jason Greenwell, the championship cutoff driver, coming just behind him, finishing in 20th.
In 21st, the 11 car, the birthday boy of Bill Harkins, followed by Mark Allen Bivens in the 76th, then Gary Wright in the 6th. In 24th, Marshall Moran, followed by Connor Sawyer, Terry Condis, Thomas Finsler, driver of the 17, Mitchell Sullivan, driver of the 18. Then in 29th, James Healy. To round out your field tonight, I believe James Healy didn't start the race. Mitchell Sullivan only got a couple of laps in. So real quick, we're going to go ahead and go to a commercial while we get our interviewees ready, but we'll be right back. What's up, guys? If you're watching this, then you already know, here at Evan Wall Media is where I do my broadcasting. 5 laps to go. Brandon Jackson in the lead. Nick Nickerson. And he turns him. The 99 of Jackson gets turned by Nickerson.
But I bet you didn't know that I also do in-person photography and videography, as well as graphic design, including, but not limited to, iRacing paint schemes and posters. Check it all out over at evanwallmedia.com. Thank y'all, and you enjoy the race.
Brett Guzik, this is Evan Wall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? Normally we only interview the top 3, but you had a great night tonight, and you were right there at the end, but it looks like you had trouble on that last restart. What happened to you on that last restart? There was a little bit of contact, I believe, with the 99 car? Yeah, pit crew definitely wasn't on the ball, especially as much as that 2 cars, but still, nevertheless, a great finish tonight, and you ought to be locked into the playoffs. As before, you were well into the playoffs. You were in 9th position before, so yeah, you ought to be fairly well locked into the playoffs. And so next week coming up, we have our first round of the playoffs at New Hampshire. Is that somewhere that you're looking forward to? We got New Hampshire, Darlington, and the Roval, so 3 really different tracks. Are those 3 that you're excited for, or what? How are you feeling going into this first round? Yes, sir. Sounds good. Well, as always, is there anybody that you want to thank coming out with this 4th place finish here tonight? Yeah, I appreciate that. Really good looking 04 car here tonight, and glad that you're safe after those tornadoes went through Georgia this past week. Yeah, definitely. I had a tornado, EF3 tornado come through central Alabama, and then later that night, Brett had the EF4 tornado go through where he currently lives over in Noonan, Georgia. So our hearts definitely go out to anybody who has been affected by tornadoes across the South this past couple of weeks. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Marshall Crocker, who is with the driver of the 64 car. Go ahead, Marshall.
wanted to go around them. It was the only real thing. It was the only option I had. Like I said earlier, passing is so tough. Trying to pass a guy is going to take more than 2 laps unless somebody makes a mistake. And I think it was Brett spun his tires on that restart. He got down into Brandon, and I just had to set stale. I was really hoping to get both of them, but I got one, and I'll take that. I got the podium finish, got my 3rd place. But yeah, that was it. Just hit the gas and pray for the best.
Right, yeah. And I almost can't do much more than that here at Five Flags. But, well, Ricky, we wrap up the regular season. You've been arguably one of the most consistent all year. Then this is top 5, number 7 out of 10 races. You've been on rails really in terms of just accumulating points. But I mean, you were last season's champion in the previous series, of course, not in the Xfinity side of things, but so you know what it's like to be clutch in those playoff moments. As we enter into the first round of the playoffs next week, can you kind of walk us through what you think it takes to win a championship in the format that these NASCAR various series run with the playoffs? And are you prepared for yet a second season of trying to make your way through those rounds and going for a second consecutive championship?
I am. When we first got the win in Atlanta earlier in the year, I kind of set my sights on, why can't I think of it? I can never think of the track, the road course that we have in the 3rd leg of the championship.
Roval and Road America.
Road America.
Yeah.
So I'm not very good at Road America. Those first S's kind of get me. I think it's turn 2 really messes me up. So right after I got that win, I started practicing at Road America. I'm trying to get that good there. I think that's going to be my biggest hurdle. I'm really hoping I'll be okay in the first 2 rounds. If I can make it to the 3rd round, that's where all my focus is. Get to Road America, be 2nd place, or maybe even intend to beat Nick. That'd be cool.
Yeah, you've come close.
And wrap up that win and keep it tight going into the 3rd round in that final race. I just want to stay close to whoever's there. Yeah, right there. I think the first 2 are going to be kind of a breeze. We got Darlington in the 1st round, I think, right?
Yep.
Darlington.
Yeah, it's Darlington, and then honestly can't remember the next round after that, and that's Roval. So you got some good tracks in there for you.
Yeah, we got some good tracks in there. I'm really looking forward to Darlington. I think I'm gonna shine there. I think I'll cruise through that one. I think 2 is going to be hard, but like I said, just focused on 3, and then being there at the end to win.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have a plan. It sounds like you got things figured out, and I hope you can execute on it. You've had a great season so far. You're one of those guys that's as trustworthy as anybody to keep it clean, and well, it's what worked for you last year, and it's what worked for you this season so far. So congrats on a great regular season there, Ricky. And as we always do in the interviews, this is your time for some shout outs. Want to talk about some sponsors? This is just your time to talk about whatever.
I just want to say congrats to Nick winning the regular series the regular season championship. He did a really good job. It was tight there for a long time, but he prevailed. And was that his 4th win?
Yep.
4th win of this season. Oh my God, he's kicking my tail. So congrats to him. Congrats to these guys. They did a great job tonight. I did not think. I knew this race was going to go one of 2 ways. It was either going to be terrible, and it was going to be a ton of cautions, or we were going to have what we had tonight. We had 3 wide racing. We had guys bumping. We had guys spinning. We had wrecks. I feel like that race had everything in the 150 laps. Long flag runs, everything. It was just a really good show from where I was sitting, and hopefully the last of the races as we're coming down into the playoffs continue to be like this. So really good job by everybody around, and to you guys always, thank you.
Absolutely, it's always appreciated, Ricky, and thank you for always doing your thing every week. And man, you're giving us something to talk about every week. And with those late race restarts you've been having that send you all the way through the field, you did it last week at Phoenix. You make our finishes always exciting. So the pleasure there is mutual. But congrats, Ricky, great job tonight, and I can't wait to see how you start off the playoffs next week.
Thank you guys. I'm excited. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, and I've got Brandon Jackson right here. Brandon Jackson, you got a copy?
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good, but before I get started, I do want to go ahead and mention that I apologize to all of our viewers. I accidentally forgot to turn on the audio for Brett and then half of Ricky's interview. So sorry to you guys. I'll try not to do that anymore. Now that we're going to be in the playoffs again, but Brandon Jackson, you had a really good finish there. you looked like you were challenging for the win, but you just couldn't get caught up to Nick Nickerson, especially with that trouble there at the end. Kind of walk us through those last, I guess, couple of restarts and what you were doing to really try and get up there, up in front of Brett and Nick.
Yeah, the restarts were really tricky and really important at the same time. All race, I've done restarts in third gear, and the first, when we got down to late in the race, I decided to do second gear, and with me just not doing second gear restarts all race, it just really was like an unknown factor for me. So when I hit the gas, a little bit of wheel spin, messed up my shift a little bit. Brett was able to get clear me going into turn one and get in front of me. Didn't like that, but I had another shot at it. Tried again. Had a little bit better of a restart, and Brett still got in front of me. So I knew going into that green, white, checkered, I had to nail the restart. And I pretty much did. I was able to get grip in the rears and get a good launch. And then out of nowhere just comes this car and just door checks me, scared the mess out of me. And somehow I was able to keep it off the wall and keep it going straight. And when I looked in the mirror and saw him and Ricky side by side, it gave me a really good sense of, okay, I pretty much got this spot as long as I don't do anything to lose it. So the last couple of restarts were really hectic, a lot going on in a really short amount of time. But I wish this race went green, man. I wish we went green. I wish that caution didn't come out around 15 laps ago, because I feel like I had a little bit better pace on the longer runs than I did on the shorter runs. But that's just short track racing.
Yeah, that's definitely how short track racing goes. And speaking of short track racing, next week we got New Hampshire, and then we got the really long race of Darlington, followed by the Roval, and that's what round one is gonna consist of. Is that a round one that you're excited for, or what?
It's a weird round. You got New Hampshire, then you got Darlington, then you got the Roval. I mean, 3 different tracks for all three different types of drivers. I mean, New Hampshire, I feel like I can be really good at. Darlington, that's going to be who can save their tires, who can save their car a lot more than the next guy. And then the Roval is just a question mark. I mean, we've all seen it for the last 2 seasons. You ain't going to touch a 2 car on the road course. Hopefully, I have the pace at the Roval to do something about it. But, the first 2 races, man, I got to make every point count, because coming down to the Roval, it's an unknown factor. Just like it would happen to me at Daytona road course a couple of weeks ago. I can get taken out lap 1 and, really trying to play catch up the whole race. So first 2 races got to be really important. Got to really make sure I get a good finishes, keep the top 5s that I got going this year. So do look, and I think I could probably get a win out here in round 1 and get an easy bye to round 2.
Well, you are going to have, advancing into the next round, you're going to have 2 points since you have a win. So you're going to be tied for the other guys that have 1 win, but hopefully you can get it done at those 3 very, very different tracks. We'll have to keep an eye out on the 99 car. I always keep an eye out on the 99 car. If you guys were here last season, I love catching the 99 car when he gets to stall it. He stalled it a couple times on pit road after burnouts, but I know he's done it a couple times this season. I just hadn't been able to catch it on camera, but I'm doing my best. But as always, Mr. Brandon Jackson, is there anybody you want to go ahead and shout out now that we've got to the end of the interview portion?
Want to go ahead and shout out all the drivers, man. It's been a long, rough regular season, man, but we're down to the playoffs, down to the nitty gritty. So a lot of us are going to be a little bit more aggressive than normal. So tempers hopefully will stay a little bit calm, but I think we'll see the aggressive go up. Got to thank you and Marshall for putting on a great broadcast week in and week out, and gotta thank the admins here at Bandit Racing League. Really good league, a lot of fun. So if you're looking to get into it, next season, hope we can see a lot more of y'all on the racetrack. But all else fails, man, y'all stay safe. Had a lot of bad weather coming in the last couple weeks, and just make sure y'all stay safe, man. I know Evan, you got hit pretty hard. A couple hours north of me, got hit really hard by a couple EF2 and 3 tornadoes. So everybody stay safe, man. Have fun, and the 99 car will be out here rocking every weekend. So I'll see y'all.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody stay safe. That is for sure. And with
Hey, Evan.
yes, sir, we got Bill Harkins up in the booth.
Yes, I apologize for breaking in. I'm getting information that nobody is hearing the interviews. So I don't know if that was fixed in the time that it was brought to my attention or not.
I got it taken care of.
Okay, good. Nick and I are in the process of finishing this. I just sent you a link. Basically, your top 20 in that link are in. Your guy on the bubble was Jason Greenwell. So he would be your guy to grab there.
All right,
And,
awesome. Sounds good.
If you look into Dan Lisa results, you'll see everybody with the 1 win and they're in, and then everybody that's below that to 20 would be your group that's made the playoffs.
All right.
We had a little snafu there, so I can't get it to you in the correct point total, but that is your top 20 there.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Happy birthday, Bill.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so that was Bill Harkins, as you heard. But now that we talked to him for a second, we are going to go ahead and go back to Marshall, as he is with the driver of the 2-car, Nick Nickerson. So go ahead, Marshall.
Hey, Nick, it's Marshall in the booth. You got me?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty well, and I feel bad. I'm pulling you into the booth here as you got some important points work to calculate. But, I mean, man, you did it again. I feel like I talked to you more than some people I live with at this point. I mean, every week I just seem to meet you here in the booth, and you do it yet again. I mean, at a track like Five Flags, we talked about beforehand, it really felt like one of those community hometown racetracks where the racing is so, well, it's certainly not clean. It's, chaotic, all sorts of stuff going on. But tonight, I mean, you find a way to come through towards the end there. I mean, you were pretty comfortable the entire start to the race, but later in the end there, Brett was making up some time. He really got in the action. Action Jackson, Mr. Brandon Jackson got involved as well. And there towards the end, the restarts were not easy. So, I mean, can you just kind of talk us through, the key lines seem to be the inside. So were you really planning your strategy around having that? Were you worried there about Brett towards the end? Just what was it like to have that entire, flip there from the beginning where you were comfortable to the end where everything was up in the
Yeah, I guess in the beginning, I was just, so in Iowa, I remember I was leading, or at least top 3, whatever it was, and I ended up pitting for tires and getting stuck in the back, and there was just yellow after yellow, and I never made my way back up. So I made it a point to only pit when I absolutely had to. So, we went past, I think it was almost halfway point, and, some of the guys that got some tires were starting to finally catch up to me and pass me, and we took tires, and I felt like I was going to do pretty good, but Brett, he was pretty fast. Like when I was barely catching up to him, and when I did, I couldn't get a nose in anywhere. I was just trying to put as much pressure on as possible to see if maybe he can make a mistake or maybe burn his tires, but he was doing too good, and I kind of feel bad, but I beat him out of the pits somehow. And then that gave me the first spot, and it's pretty much gone from there. There was one restart where he got me good. Usually I can get those restarts pretty well, but he was right on me on the, I think it was the second before last restart. And I kind of worried that he was gonna actually maybe even turn me, because I mean, if I were him, I would have turned me. I mean, so. Yeah, I mean, other than that, it was a pretty fun race. It was pretty stressful. There's a lot of guys out there that had some good speed, and the race turned out a lot better than I thought. Honestly, I thought we were gonna have more yellows. Kind of shows the skill level is increasing with everybody. I mean, I will have to see the broadcast. I'll watch it later on tonight, but I imagine there's some pretty good racing. So
yeah. Most certainly, and the other guys seem to echo your thought about how clean it was there. So that was something that really impressed us. I'm sure that made your job easy there with some longer green flag runs from the lead. I'm sure that's what you wanted to see. And well, I mean, you kind of segued into it perfectly. You talked about there at the end with the restarts being so vital, and I mean there towards the end, the biggest worry I think you must have had there defending where it's so key to hold the inside line here at Five Flags was the idea of the bump and run there towards the end, and it never came, luckily. For you, I mean, with guys like Brett Guzik and Brandon Jackson, they seem like the kind of guys that were locked into the playoffs that would go for it. So was that something in the back of your mind? Was that changing the way you defended late in the race? And were you so pleased to see that battle that Brandon and Brett got in at the end that meant that you were pretty much safe to the finish?
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of nice to see for sure. Yeah, I was fully expecting it. Because again, if I were Brett, even Brandon, I would definitely turn me. Maybe not to the point where you'd crash people all behind you, but at least a little bit of a bump. But fortunately, I was able to get like a pretty decent restart. And I was kind of wondering if taking the inside was a mistake at some points because it seemed like the guy on the outside can get a really good run into the corner because I'm kind of stuck down there. And I know Brett was like, he was really closing in on the exit of 2 on those first couple restarts. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I guess I was fortunate enough to take it away. Now I've won. What is we got? Road course. I guess Phoenix is a short track, and then an actual short track. What else did I win? I forget.
Yeah, 2 road courses, a Phoenix and a short track.
2 road courses. That's
Everybody
right. Yeah.
calls Phoenix something different, but you've proven your variety. You've proven your variance here in wins, and it's the perfect time to do so because next week we start the playoffs, and that's when it really gets down to the nitty gritty. I mean, first round you got Roval there in the third round, so you got to think, okay, maybe you can consider that somewhat of a banker. But again, guys like Ricky Hart, we just talked about, maybe starting to work his way up there. He's been doing his very best.
Yeah.
So again, you're always going to be the favorite there, but. I mean, talk about the playoffs in general. I mean, last season, you and Ricky were trading back and forth there in the races. I mean, you guys were kind of the top 2. You were swapping wins back and forth, and then you get down to the playoffs, and the narrative totally changes. So he found a way to do it last season. But what do you take away from that? What is your mentality going to be when you start thinking about the bigger championship picture the rest of the season?
Man, well, first thing I think about is I really wish we didn't have a chase this year. But, I got quite a few bonus points, but it is what it is, and it's going to be fun. I have to, I guess for myself, I have to keep in the same state of mind that I'm in right now because I was already in early on in the season and I could kind of, I guess, experiment, although I wasn't really, I was just trying to run as, I wouldn't have to make any like crazy moves because I'm like, oh God, I got to get these points because if I don't, then I won't make this position or whatever. But now we're getting to chase. I have to make sure I can keep like a clear head on the decisions I make throughout the race. I can't make ballsy moves on tires. I mean, you could save a set of tires for the end of the race, but what happens if there's never a yellow and you waste a set of tires? Right. And that could be the difference between winning and losing a race in some cases. So the strategy is going to be, it's going to be pretty difficult. Maybe not difficult, but it's there's a lot of different strategies you can play, and I guess trying to choose the right one is going to be pretty paramount. And I don't have the answers. I'm just going to have to go with the instinct because it is just me. A lot of these guys we just race by ourselves. We don't have a full team calling strategies for us or anything,
Right.
So, other than that, I mean, that's pretty much just gonna have to go in and see what happens. Just try to. I've had a pretty clean season so far, so I need to make sure I keep it clean. That's number one, But other than that, man.
Yeah, I mean, you take away 40% of the wins in the regular season. I think all my advice would be is don't change a thing, man. Just do what you're doing. Take the road courses when they come to you, and just try to rattle off wins like you've been doing lately. I mean, 2 straight wins at 2 straight ovals. You found something here late in the season, and I hope it keeps working for you. But for now, as we always do in the interviews, you are of course our race winner. And well, this week you didn't do it at a home track, but you did it at a track like Five Flags, which is almost more impressive. So yeah, if you have any shout outs you want to give, any sponsors to talk about, it's your time.
Man, just Matt and Bill for all they do with the league. Tons of fun. Look forward to every Wednesday, and got to thank you and Evan for all you do with the broadcast, man. They're so much fun to watch them before I go to bed.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure they can become more fun when at the very end we get to talk to you here in the booth. I'd imagine. So awesome. Well, congratulations, Nick. As always, man. You've been having an incredible regular season, and now the real fun starts. Now that we get into the important stuff. So we'll see if we see you back here next week. But the way things are going, I'd imagine you're either going to be in first and third. The way things have been trending. So congratulations tonight.
Cool, man. Appreciate it.
But, no worries. Congrats, Nick. Have a great week.
Hey, you too, man. Take care. All righty, man.
All right, so that was Nick Nickerson, and obviously one of the drivers that is going to be locked in. But let's find out who else we're going to have locked in. We're going to look at the unofficial points, if I can get pulled up in 1 second. So obviously, locked in is going to be Nick Nickerson with his 4th win on the year. He is going to have He will have 8 bonus points heading into round 1, 2 bonus points per win. Then coming up, second place going into round 1, going to be the 64 car, Ricky Hart Jr., coming in with 2 bonus points for his 2 wins, followed by Benjamin Lacey, 2 bonus points for his 2 wins. Then Curtis Yancey, 2 bonus points for his 2 wins. And finally, Dustin Franklin, 2 bonus points for his 2 wins. All those guys got in on wins, but what about the guys that didn't? So I get that pulled up now, and we can look at our top guys. The first one to get in on bonus points without a win is going to be driver of the 13, Christopher Ferrara, 4 top 10s on the season. And then following Christopher Ferrara, getting into the playoffs, going to be Garrett Hall, Brett Guzik, Trey Ellis, Kevin Foster, Peter Murphy, Hunter Henry, Benny Hogan, Matt Crockett, Victor Weaver, Eddie Haggy, Bill Harkins, and the final driver going to be Jason Greenwell. Alan Castle, Jarrett Grodzicki, Marshall Moran, Cale Zook, all those guys just barely missing out on round 1 of the playoffs. And I do have to remind you that these are unofficial, so we are not exactly positive if this is what it's going to look like going into round 1. You'll know for sure the next broadcast, and if you're part of our Discord, or if you follow our Facebook or anything like that, if you follow the Bandit Racing League Facebook, they'll obviously be posted there as soon as they are official, because they are unofficial for right now. But so going into next round, just a little bit how this works. Once the next round starts, the points will be reset, and drivers who have won will be given 2 points per win. And the concept of winning you're in is out the window. So after tonight, advancing yourself into rounds 2 and 3 will be based purely on points. Of course, wins are going to help, but if you win, you are not automatically locked in. If you win the first race and then you finish dead last in the next 2, you're not going to be heading into the next round. You're going to have to point your way in to round 2, then point your way in to round 3, and point your way to a championship at the end of the season if you make it that far. So real quick, we're going to go ahead and see if we can grab the guy who just finished on the bubble. Let's see if I can grab him real quick. It's going to be Jason Greenwell, driver of the 83 car that unofficially finished on the bubble. And Marshall, are you cool with interviewing Jason?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, right now I'm going to send it down to Marshall, who is with Jason Greenwell.
Hey, Jason, it's Marshall in the booth. You got me? Hey, Jason, it is Marshall in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, Marshall. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. How about yourself, Jason?
I cannot complain. It was a bit of a slugfest there, but made it through it and survived.
Most certainly, and that was the most important part, because tonight you come home as our final cutoff driver there in the playoffs, and I in the end you did it pretty comfortably there on points. But all season you've been a guy that I've had my eye on. In a couple races you've had some pretty solid performances there in the middle where you just seem to be comfortable and working your way through the field. But really, as we get into the playoffs, we have a huge grid of 20 drivers heading into the rest of the season, at least to battle for a championship. So, what's your approach? You kind of come in, you could argue, as the underdog there in points, but you've had some strong performances. So is there a certain track type you think you're going to be good at in the playoffs, or what's your strategy to try to, make up some spots there and take home the title?
Well, you just go ahead and kind of discount the road courses a little bit. So try and stay out of trouble there as much as you can, right? I'm more of a 1.5 mile guy. I know it's kind of boring, but I like doing the math in my head and trying to figure out when to pit, how to pit. And, most of my good finishes are up there as long as I don't kind of trip over myself and do something silly in the pits or something like that. That caught me out a couple of times. Super speedways are always a crapshoot. I have a tendency to find myself in the wrong spot there. So, yeah, try to rack up as many as I can on the 1.5 mile type tracks, stay out of trouble on road courses, and just see where it goes.
Right. And do you anticipate your mindset towards each and every race, or the mindset of other drivers to change now that each and every driver there in the top 20 is now battling for bigger stakes than just an individual race win?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, a little bit. I mean, there might, this is a cool league and a lot of fun guys, and there's a lot of give and take as you go. And I don't think it'll get too spicy until you start coming down to the last couple of laps, last couple of turns, right? It'll be a little less give and a little more take at that point, I imagine. But yeah, I don't think it'll change too much.
Well, final question. I mean, man, in the next couple weeks, we go to New Hampshire next week. We go to Darlington after that, and then we go to Roval to round off round one. I mean, we're talking here in the booth now as the cutoff driver for the top 19. But man, do you think we're going to see it here in the next couple weeks in a proper podium spot in one of those 3 races?
Proper podium spot, I hope so. I'm going to shoot for it and, give it my best. I'm hoping to, try to get up there around top 5 in most of those, and try to, just stay consistent and out of trouble is going to be the name of the game for me as we're going forward.
Awesome. Well, yeah, sounds like a plan. Sounds like the best way to think about things going forward. So thanks, Jason, for stopping in by the booth. Great race tonight. I mean, in the end, with how chaotic things were, just coming out of it at all there in the first couple of laps is an achievement in and of itself. So great race tonight, man. I can't wait to see what you do going forward this season and now moving into a new chapter. And just by the way, a side note, you might have the coolest Skype background I've ever seen. So just want to mention that tonight before we head off, man. But yeah, great job tonight and making your way through, and best of luck to you in the playoffs.
Thanks so much, Marshall. You guys do a heck of a job, and thanks for everything you do. I know the folks back home in Indiana have a lot of fun watching this one every Wednesday. So good work, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Shout out to your family there, and hopefully they can have a great way to end off their Wednesday, because, well, you're in the playoffs, man, and I think you've got the underdog spot, so you got something to live up to going forward.
All right. Nowhere but up.
Exactly. Good luck, man.
All right. Take her easy.
You too.
All right, so that was Jason Greenwell, who is your final transfer position. And real quick, we are almost done with this. So for the 12 of you that are still hanging around, we appreciate you hanging around. And I really wanted to mention this at some point earlier, but I didn't have the time. There was so much action going on here tonight at Pensacola, or the virtual Pensacola Five Flags Speedway, that I didn't have time to mention it. But the name of the race, the Look Twice 150, presented by Evanwall Media. I could have just called it the Evanwall Media 150, but I wanted to do something a little bit special. The Look Twice 150, obviously. Helmet here. Just to remind everybody to look twice for motorcycles. It's really not that hard to do. Double check your blind spots when you're driving. Don't just watch for the brake light in front of you. When I'm driving my motorcycle, or a lot of the times just on a motorcycle, it's a lot easier to downshift than it is to hit your brakes. So don't look at the brake lights. Pay attention to where that motorcycle is. They may be closer than they appear to be. And just finally, don't be a distracted driver. It isn't just dangerous to yourself, it's dangerous to everybody on the road, and especially motorcycle drivers. So look twice. And also have to shout out my website. So if you need any graphic design work, including paint schemes, hero cards, anything like that, evanwallmedia.com is the place to go. If you use the code BANDIT, you get half off, BANDIT. And so, evanwallmedia.com. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next week as we head to New Hampshire.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.